23rd of July 19, Skegness Pier, on what might prove to be the hottest day of the year so far. This looks to me to be the beginning of the England Coast Path section. Skegness to Mablethorpe, about 16 miles, opened earlier this year. So the sign says England Coast Path 3.5 miles. There's no indication of anything the other way, which is towards Gibraltar Point, so I assume this is where the walk starts. It's 16 miles to Mablethorpe North End. So that's the way the path goes. There's not much of a pier at Skegness. I think some of it got blown away some years ago, so it doesn't even extend out over the sea when the tide is out. But then the beach is a very wide area at Skegness. So it's under the pier and onwards, past the Boating Lake area, rather a river, the Boating River, than a lake. We've got two signs here, England Coast Path, white background, the green on the white background, and that's the way the path goes. Very straightforward today, should be, mainly along the sea defence walkways. So there is a cycle lane here, and stable walk conditions through the dunes. Cycle lane look both ways. Coming out at a car parking area and a wider track. And the castle. I've not seen any signs recently. So does it go up here? Back at this point again, because I went down that way, there, and if you look carefully at the sign, it is pointing up the track. It is pointing up this track. So from the other side, that's the sign, and it's up there and along the promenade in front. Onwards along the sea defences of Skegness. They just go on and on and on for most of the 16 miles. We're coming to a beach access point here, with a car park on the left hand side. This is where I got to, and I took the wrong route a few minutes ago. And from that access point, slightly higher up, you can see the track ahead. Well, the track ahead disappears into the dunes, but there is a sign on the left. Now, the sign on the left is just a public footpath. The England Coast Path is straight on. It changes here from the concrete sections, but still a very good path. The problem here is that it's very sheltered on both sides and there's no sea breeze, so it's very, very hot indeed. From time to time there are access points. This is one that's a bit more main from the land side as well onto the seafront. That's the end of the road from Skegness North and round to there. We have a rather good sign here, England Coast Path National Trail. England Coast Path, follow the path. Alternative route avoiding beach. The notice said follow this path along here from that point for 550 metres, and then it goes on to the beach. Which is a bit unusual for the coast path, and there is an alternative route further inland. A lot of rocks for the sea defences here, and another beach access. So a couple of people walking past had good morning to say to me. The first people to speak since Skegness, where somebody commented on the t-shirt. I thought at first they were going to ask me about photographing the England Coast Path. But no, it's about the Albert Lee 70th anniversary concert t-shirt. And there's one of the beach access points. It looks as if we're coming to the end of this particular section. And we've got a big sign that says England Coast Path National Trail to the right, danger, do not go straight on. Danger, this is private land and there is no public right of way. It's a shame that it's got to come off that path and go along the beach, but that's what it says. So it's down these steps and onto the beach for 400 metres along this way. That really slows things down. It's a pity that I've not got access to that private bit of land on the golf course. Also it said beware of being cut off at high tides. I think that must mean spring tides once a month. And it's hard going. It slows you right down. Still plodding along the beach, very slow going. Gradually the buildings are approaching. Or is it me approaching the buildings? It reaches the grass area near the houses. I can see a sign. So it must have taken between 5 and 10 minutes to do that stretch along the beach. Slows you right down and then sand gets in your shoes. I come to these steps. I can see the sign pointing along the beach, so I'm climbing up the steps to carry on northwards. It looks as if this section did used to be walked before it was made England Coast Path, but not being a public right of way. Obviously the owners have not approved it. That's the way ahead. Along the promenade. Is it all the way to Chopper Point now? 11:48. The one on the right is directing the path down the beach, and the one on the left is north. The other public footpath is the diversion route, so that's the way. Property is right along the seafront here. I'm not sure where we are. I think we're getting towards Butlins. Busy day on the beach. Coast path sign here, and down to the front. That's the way you've come, and along that way. Here. The Derbyshire Miners Convalescent Home. We have a newly painted fence here. It says wet paint, and a silvery colour in front of the caravans, static caravans. A lot of wind turbines out at sea, stretching for quite a way, and then a big piece of sand here. There's the piece of sand stretching out, and a beautiful blue sky. Hardly any wind, so at least you can hear what I'm saying when you get to the painters. So the sand stretches further out, and our path continues along the promenade. There's Inkermells now, so we must have passed Butlins some time ago. I didn't notice it. When I walked along this coast before, I walked slightly further inland and it was along the boundary of Butlins. I think this is Inkermells. The front at Inkermells, access to the beach, plus the boathouse, and again continuing along the pullover. Quite a big dune area, overgrown with the green plants that are stabilising the sand. The next place we get to, Chopper St Leonard's, and then it's Chopper Point. This is Chopper St Leonard's. It's changed a lot since I was last here. The sand wasn't overgrown like this, and it came right up to, I think the sea came right up to the wall. But there's all the sand reclamation done further north, particularly at Anderby Creek, and of course with the tides as they are, the sand is moved south, so it's built up down here. Coming to Chopper St Leonard's pull over. So let's try again. We're a long way from Chopper St Leonard's at the moment. This is still the Butlins part. There's the fence that I remember from before. Some of the buildings at the north end of Butlins, I believe. Approaching the end of the Butlins area, I think the path turns right and then left. Turning right. Still belongs to Butlins, I believe. Just before a turn the corner, continuing north, you can see the wind turbines. I haven't seen any moving at all this morning. Round the corner. There's an entertainment centre, amusement arcade area there. So maybe this is Ingermells. They're doing some work on the seafront area here. Past Uncle Barry's Cafe. Continuing along towards Ingermells. That's the end of the straight piece there. It's now curving round towards the point. There's the point. It turns to the north again. On the left hand side we've got a sluice gate. The sluice. Very busy beach. Ingermells. A little bit busy here this morning. We have a train route. The train is running. Train ride £1 each. Please wait here. So we might see the train. I think we're now on the way towards Chapel St Leonard's. You get to Chapel St Leonard's before you get to Chapel Point. We've now joined the main road, although the promenade is separated completely from that. We have a train stop. Continuing along the front, the seafront on the England coast path between Skegness and Mablethorpe. Now the pullover turns left and along the front. Now I have a sign here, Ingermells Point is half a mile one way and Chapel St Leonard's is half a mile that way. Open daily, family club, sports bar. Some quite well established grassy areas now, this part approaching Chapel St Leonard's. Entrance to some caravans. Quite a high sea wall on the left hand side now. Here you can see the lake. Usual to have place identified when you're not walking along the roads, but here we are on the promenade and it says welcome to Chapel St Leonard's. Wider promenade, people on the beach. We can see on the corner there Chapel Point with its new sea observatory. People on the beach all the way from Chapel St Leonard's to Chapel Point, and then die down a bit I think until you get to Anderby Creek. Just here we have a big notice board, welcome to Chapel Beach, Church Lane, and a little map to go with. Onwards. Little dip here, and then the lower promenade, narrower as well. Onto the lower promenade. Beginning to approach Chapel Point. Nice expansive beach, plenty of room to spread out. Just after 5 to 1, there's still a little bit further to go to Chapel Point. An interesting restaurant, boat here. The busy corner. And the corner going down to Chapel St Leonard's, Chapel Point. Still approaching Chapel Point. 1:05, still not at Chapel Point. A bit of new fencing along the front. Some old chalets. Another inlet, and just round the corner there, Chapel Point at last. Access track at the side of the sluice at Chapel Point. We continue along the front from that entrance. At the end of the pullover piece we've got a piece of footpath. Suppose this was here before, might be a new piece. Chapel Point. Private land. No residential access only, no cycles or motorbikes on private path. Well, the path goes round here without going on the beach. So around here joins up with that bit, which does go down to the beach. This is definitely new. This is a Natural England Coast Path project, which is part funded by the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development. Now I remember this, it's pretty easy to do, one along the higher track in front of the chalets, and you joining up section to the lower track which goes around the corner of Chapel Point. And at Chapel Point we've got this Coast Watch building. Very pretty. So this is where the promenade finishes. Here we are. Keep to the beach for 900 metres. England Coast Path, get to the beach. And the sign says St Leonard's, 1.5 miles. Huttoft, 3 miles. Beach for 900 metres. Which means it's much slower going. Coming to a bit of a path on the edge of the beach, so I'll go along there. There's the building at Chapel Point. Swinging around Chapel Point Beach. That's quite deserted. The old beach hut. When I last came along here many years ago, there were sea defences all the way. Every 50 yards or so you had to jump over, go around. They're all covered up at the moment from all the sand reclamation that's been done around Anderby Creek. Going more into a path. Still very sandy though, so it's still very slow. Now I've got another sign. Keep to the beach. Keep to the beach. There's no way through that way, so it's down to the beach. There is a bit of a path here. Peters out, so it's onto the beach. And we get to a bit of a path off the beach. I don't know whether it's meant to be a path or not. Doesn't look like it. Might be. We can get along this bit. That's a bit of a disappointment there. I thought that the path would have been made, but of course there's some properties this side Chapel Point that go right up to the level of the beach, so you can't make a path through there. So I suppose it's inevitable that it's got to go along the beach some way. But this path is fine. Now just here it comes off the beach and goes inland a bit. With the sign telling you here now. So it's just come over there. The sign is there. There's an engine of a car idling away, polluting the lovely air here. I think it's coming from the BMS, whatever it is. And it's going along this way now. The landward side of the dunes. Picnic area which nobody's using. Chapel 6 Marshes. Lincolnshire Coast Country Park. Another map explaining about Chapel 6 Marshes, showing the various places on the east coast from Chapel Point, North Sea Observatory, Sound Tower, that's what that was, Chapel 6 Marshes, Waller Bank, Roundham Roundhouse, Cloud Bar at Anderby Creek, Marsh Yard, Hut of Car Terrace, Sunderland Golf Club and Sunderland before you get to Sutton-on-Sea. Carrying on the car park at Marsh Yard. The sign on this post, England Coast Path, National Trail. New section here. It's a pity this park couldn't have been done from Chapel Point like this. So it's changed a bit. The sandy track again slows you down. Back to this sort of track now, just narrow track widened by cutting the grass either side. And I suppose that's the salt marshes. And the path turns up the hill and side of the fence. There used to be a sewage farm somewhere near here, and the sign at the top sending us along the side of the fence. At the end of the fence, it drops down quite steeply before climbing up the other side. So I'm back onto the high ground again. So that's the path, and there's a pond there. The path turns left here, down towards the car park. This one is Waller Bank, and the England Coast Path sign there, which takes us through the car park here. At the end of the car park, another couple of signs along the wide track towards Anderby Creek. So plodding along towards Anderby Creek. A junction of paths here, but we don't want to go inland, so we'll follow that one. Approaching Anderby Creek now. Inland Coast Path this way. One of those. Follow the path around it and onto the seafront at Anderby Creek. So it goes off down the steps and along the front. Well, where the creek comes out looks a little bit different from how it used to. So having come down those steps, do I go along that track? The other one leads to the beach, so I'll go along this one. So the final bit of this one before it reaches Anderby Creek proper, and it looks as if this was the right path. As here's the confirmation, that's the way we've just come. Comes out on here, under the main drain outfall, which is down there, and there's Anderby Creek. Along the track here, in front of the houses. Has that one always been as high as that? I remember this end one, but did it look like that? No, I don't think it did. What's being adapted and built here? Anderby Arena, holding 5,000. So at this point the England Coast Path turns inland a little bit, past the shelter, and the notice about heading the clouds at Anderby Creek, with information about the Lincolnshire Coastal Country Park, of which Anderby Creek is at the centre. England Coast Path sign with Chapel Point 2 miles and Hothoft 1 mile, beach shop and cafe. Sign here is a bird hive, toilets, drainage museum and cloud bar down the main street there. and the England Coast Path directed at an angle across this end of the car park, and there's a sign on the look through road sign, and there it is. That's the sign directing us down. I think it's called Sandy Lane down there. So public footpath to Marshard. It doesn't say England Coast Path on this one. So halfway to Moggs Yard, down Sandy Lane. There's a little unofficial path over here. A carpeted footpath indeed. A court, Anderby Creek.